I offered to help my nephew start his first business. I co-signed a loan, bought his supplies, even built his website. One morning I logged in and found all my bank accounts frozen. He'd transferred everything, including my retirement fund, into his name. "I thought we were partners," I texted. He replied, "You're just old money. I'm the vision." His parents begged me not to press charges. "It'll destroy the family name," they said. "Is that worth more than your savings?" I'm not the kind of man who ever expected to get rich. I was born in a small house on the west side of Lakewood, Colorado, back when it was still more fields than shopping centers. My whole life has been work, early mornings, calloused hands, tired nights. That's how it's supposed to be. You work hard, you live honest, you get by. By the time I was 58, I had what I needed. A house almost paid off. A modest retirement fund that I guarded like a hawk. Enough money to help out if somebody in the family needed it, like Carter. Carter was my sister's only son. Blonde-haired, baby-faced, and always the special one. When he was a kid, he could do no wrong. I watched him grow up getting every toy, every award, every excuse. Maybe that's why I didn't say no when he showed up at my place that cold February morning, talking fast and smiling even faster. He had an idea. A landscaping business, eco-friendly, water-saving, beautiful designs. He had a PowerPoint on his laptop and everything. He said all he needed was a little seed money to get started. I told him I wasn't a bank. He said, "I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking for a partnership. We'll both get rich." Looking back, maybe I just wanted to believe in him. Maybe I wanted to be part of something for once, not just the guy who kept his head down and saved receipts. I agreed. At first, it was little things. I co-signed a loan, $45,000. I figured he was young, he needed a boost. I bought the supplies, a trailer, mowers, blowers, seed, sod, fertilizer. I even drove 2 hours north one weekend to pick up a used truck we found on Craigslist, and paid the cash myself. I built the website too. I had to learn how, watching YouTube videos at night. I used my own card for the hosting fees, thinking we'd switch it to his once the money started coming in. "We're partners," he kept saying. "This is our dream." I didn't notice the little cracks at first. He started hiring his friends, guys who showed up late, left early, and treated customers like they were doing them a favor. He refused to take small jobs, saying it wasn't worth his time. He spent more time posing for Instagram photos than actually working. But still, I made excuses for him. First businesses are hard, right? Then, one morning, everything changed. I woke up, went to pay a bill online, and the screen froze. Account inaccessible. Tried the next account. Same thing. Finally, after an hour on hold with the bank, the woman on the phone, her voice tight like she was reading from a script, told me there had been a series of large transfers, all going into a business account registered solely under Carter's name. Not ours. His. She said they had frozen everything pending investigation. It felt like my chest caved in. I texted him right away. "I thought we were partners." His reply came fast. "You're just old money." I'm the vision. No apology. No explanation. Just a slap in the face. Later that afternoon, my sister and her husband showed up, all crocodile tears, and whispered apologies. But they weren't apologizing for what he did. They were apologizing for me being upset. They begged me not to press charges. Said it would tear the family apart. Said Carter was young and impulsive, and that he'd make it right eventually. They even had the nerve to ask me to loan them more money in the meantime to help stabilize the situation. I laughed in their faces. It wasn't funny. It was the kind of laugh that comes out when you realize everything you trusted was a lie. That night, sitting at my kitchen table, I made a decision. If they thought I was going to roll over, they didn't know me at all. I was going to make this right. Even if it meant burning every bridge behind me. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Found one in downtown Denver who specialized in financial crimes. His name was Eric Brenner. No-nonsense guy. Mid-40s, buzz-cut, heavy hands that looked like they belonged to a construction worker more than a suit. I sat across from him in his office, telling him everything, right down to the last cent. When I was done, he leaned back in his chair and said, "They think you'll stay quiet because it's family. Happens all the time. It's a power play." He pulled a file from his drawer. "You've got a strong case. Real strong. But once we file, there's no going back. Family or not, this will get ugly." I thought about Carter's smirking face. I thought about that text. "You're just old money. On division. Let's file," I said. Eric smiled. We started the paperwork that afternoon. Fraud. Theft. Breach of trust. I thought maybe Carter would come to his senses when he got served. Maybe he'd panic. Maybe he'd come running back to fix it. No. Instead, a week later I got served. Carter had filed a counter-lawsuit, claiming I had gifted him the money as an investment and that I was trying to sabotage his business out of jealousy. He even went public with it. He posted a video online, on the company's Instagram page, saying, "Sometimes even your own family can't handle your success. Stay tuned. Big things coming." The comments were full of support. "Family is jealous. Old people hate seeing young people win. He's just mad because he didn't think of it first." I sat there scrolling through them, feeling sick. Worse, some of my own family members started turning on me. My younger cousin texted me saying, "Maybe you should just drop it. He's doing something good. Don't be petty." Petty. After he stole everything I'd worked for. I realized then, I was alone in this. Eric wasn't worried though. He said, "Public opinion doesn't win in court. Evidence does. And we've got it." We filed a motion to freeze Carter's business accounts, just like he had frozen mine. I figured that would be enough to scare him. But Carter just doubled down. He opened a second business under a different LLC name, this time without any link to me at all. Started funneling money there. When the court froze his first accounts, he just smiled for the cameras and said, "We're pivoting. Bigger and better." The local news even picked up the story. A reporter showed up at my door one night. Shoved a microphone in my face. Wanted my side. I slammed the door. I wasn't interested in playing the media game. I wanted my life back. But it got worse. One night, someone threw a brick through my front window. A note wrapped around it said, "Old dogs need to learn when to sit down." No name. No fingerprints. The police couldn't do anything. I installed cameras after that. Then the threats started. Late-night calls. Slashed tires. All while Carter paraded around town like a hero, the new, young entrepreneur who overcame family betrayal. And behind the scenes, my life kept crumbling. Bills piling up. Debt collectors calling about the co-signed loan. My retirement dreams gone. And still, the worst part wasn't the money. It was knowing that every Christmas, every family reunion, every funeral for the rest of my life, I'd be the villain. Unless I did something they couldn't ignore. Something they couldn't talk their way out of. Something that would make sure Carter, and every single person who stood with him, finally paid the price. And that's exactly what I planned to do. I spent weeks planning. Not rage planning. Careful. Quiet. The first thing I did was dig. I hired a private investigator, old buddy of mine from way back when I used to help a friend remodel police stations. Guy named Marty Deeks. Semi-retired but sharp as hell. I gave him a simple task. Find everything on Carter. Within a month, Marty handed me a folder. Turns out Carter wasn't just reckless with my money. He had defaulted on 2 small business loans before he ever came to me. Had 2 lawsuits quietly settled during college, one for trashing a rental house, another for fraud over a fake GoFundMe. Nothing criminal stuck back then because his parents paid it all off under the table. And now? He was cooking his new business books too. He wasn't doing eco-friendly landscaping like he claimed. He was using illegal pesticides, underpaying undocumented workers, and taking deposits for jobs he never even started. And the real kicker? He listed me as a silent investor on both his companies. Meaning if those shady practices came to light, I could still be dragged into lawsuits and liability. Even after he stole everything, he was still using my name like a shield. I took that file and went straight to Eric. He smiled when he saw it. "This changes everything," he said. "Now we're not just talking about civil court. We're talking about federal fraud charges." I gave him the green light. Meanwhile, I started playing my own game. I created an anonymous tip email and sent copies of Marty's report to the IRS, the Colorado Department of Labor, the EPA, local news outlets, consumer protection groups. I knew once they started digging, Carter wouldn't know which fire to put out first. And it worked. First came the IRS audit. Then OSHA violations. Then the EPA hit him with a fine so big it made the news. Customers started backing out. His workers quit. Within a month, the second business he opened went dark. Carter went online, screaming about how he was being targeted by haters and old money bullies. No one cared. Meanwhile, my sister and her husband called me, furious. "You're ruining his life," my sister screamed into the phone. "No," I said cold. "He ruined mine first." She hung up. I didn't hear from her again. But the damage was spreading. Turns out Carter wasn't smart enough to keep everything separate. He had funneled money between his companies, commingled personal expenses, even doctored invoices to get bigger loans. Now the banks were after him too. And the best part? Because he had listed me as an investor, I was able to file motions showing that I was a victim of his fraud too, shielding me from the worst of the blowback and shifting the liability onto his shoulders. I wasn't just getting revenge. I was cutting out the cancer he had wrapped around my name. The final move was still coming. I wasn't just going to bankrupt him. I was going to make sure Carter never stepped foot in a business office again without people whispering behind his back. I was going to destroy the vision he stole my future to fund. And it was closer than ever. I watched Carter crumble from a distance. But it wasn't enough. He still had a few diehard supporters. His parents, a few friends. They kept pushing the story that he was a victim of jealousy. That I was the bitter old uncle who couldn't handle the new generation winning. I needed something that would erase that lie forever. That's when Marty found it. Buried in public records, Carter had applied for a COVID relief loan 2 years earlier, a $90,000 loan he wasn't entitled to. Lied about the number of employees. Lied about the income. He never paid it back. Federal fraud. Marty grinned when he handed me the paperwork. "Here's your nuke." I took it to Eric. He filed a full federal report. 3 weeks later, Carter got raided. They didn't knock politely. They busted down his little office door, seized his computers, froze every remaining account he had. They even seized his truck because it was registered under the fraudulently obtained company. He was arrested right there. Mugshot plastered all over local news. Young businessman indicted on federal fraud charges. No more Instagram videos. No more press releases. Just a perp walk and a sea of flashing cameras. His parents tried to spin it at first. But there was no spinning federal charges. The community turned on him. Customers came forward about half-finished jobs, stolen deposits. Former workers came forward about unpaid wages. Even the family started to distance themselves. Whispers at church. Cold stares at family gatherings. My sister finally called me one last time. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail, just her sobbing, broken words about how he was just a kid, and he made mistakes, and how could you do this to your own blood? I sat there in the dark and listened to it twice. And then I deleted it. The case dragged on for months. In the end, Carter pled guilty to multiple counts of wire fraud and financial theft. He was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. He'll serve at least 4 if he behaves. His businesses dissolved. His name poisoned. His dreams buried under a mountain of court fees and debt he'll never escape. And me? I got a settlement from the banks after showing I was defrauded. It wasn't all my money back, but it was enough to keep my house, pay off my debts, and rebuild a small nest egg. But the cost wasn't just money. The family won't speak to me. Not one card on Christmas. Not one call on my birthday. I walk into a room full of my blood now, and it's like I'm a ghost. But you know what? I'd rather be a ghost than a fool. I'd rather be alone with my dignity than surrounded by liars who thought stealing from me was just part of business. Carter once told me he was the vision. Now he's got plenty of time to sit in a cell and dream up new ones. Me? I'm still here. Still standing. Still real. And I'll never, ever trust blood over truth again.